Welcome, everybody, to the CoLab. This is a production of the Church Multiplication Institute at Wesley Seminary. The CoLab exists to encourage innovation, creativity, and experimentation in the multiplication space. We're bringing together the best of those who are doing, trying, finding, and sometimes even failing. We're not just talking about what has worked in church multiplication, we're also experimenting with what could be. Welcome to the CoLab. Let's get to work. So I am so excited that you are joining with us today. My name is Andy Merritt. I'm the program coordinator for the Church Multiplication Institute at Wesley Seminary. And I've got two great guys who are gathered with me today. And I'm just going to give them a minute. Ed and Doug, could you go ahead and just introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit about what you do?
I will go after Ed.
All right. Well, I serve as the director of the Church Multiplication Institute and also serve in the Wesleyan Church as the executive director of Church Multiplication and Discipleship. And so I get to relate to a lot of people who would be in the church planting realm, developing church planting systems. Church multiplication is on the front of their minds. We're also talking about what disciple-making movements look like, and helping people with practical resources to pull those off and to connect people to what Jesus is doing in their life. So that's a little bit about me.
Awesome. Thanks, Ed.
Doug.
Yeah, my name's Doug Paul. I am one of the managing partners of an organization called Catapult, and we work with churches, networks, denominations, missions agencies, faith-based nonprofits, and the like. Mission-driven organizations writ large, I guess. And we help them focus on strategic planning, scaling, and innovation. So I live in Richmond, Virginia, got 3 teenagers who will more than likely be the death of me. And we had a Great Dane who passed away last summer. And we have a new puppy, and she is a demon dog.
No.
I am only just realizing I had the perfect dog, and Charlotte is showing me how good I had it with the old one. So,
I think that's the way we felt about our kids. The first one slept really well, and almost like our expectations were too high, and then the second one came along and wouldn't sleep for the life of us, and just about put us in a home.
Well, and I had a similar experience between the first and second child. I'm not too proud to say that I thought we were really doing better at parenting than we actually were. I just realized that we happened to get a good sleeper for the first one. It had nothing to do with me.
Yeah.
And that knocked me down about 17 pegs.
It does make me wonder whether there's something about the way God created us that does that so that you will have the second child. Like if the second one was the first one, you'd be like, no, I'm good.
Yeah, well, then we had a third. I think Ed's got 11 kids. How many kids do you have, Ed?
Oh, no. 3.
Oh, no, you don't have 11 kids. You've got 11,000 animals, right?
I got animals.
There we go. I mean, very different, just so we're all clear. The distinctions are.
Oh, well, Doug, I want to thank you so much for joining us. I was telling Doug before we started, so those of you that are joining us who have been on some of these other webinars, we've just rebranded these. And so we've decided to call them the CoLab. And we just launched this Multiplication Institute in the fall. Ed and I have been working in this arena for a long time, but Wesley Seminary has started a series of, they call them Scholar Practitioner Institutes, where really they want to leverage the resources of the seminary to help boots on the ground pastors, where it's not just, hey, you're coming to an ivory tower to get a piece of paper, but hey, how can we really help the church? And so they asked Ed and I if we would help in this area of multiplication. But Doug, your book, Ready or Not, that I want to talk about was an impetus for a lot of the philosophy behind how, at least I've been approaching things, because you focus on creativity, ideation, innovation, and let's just start there for a second, because there's a quote. You said the people of God should be the most wildly innovative and pioneering people the world has ever known. And I love that quote. But then when I think about those adjectives, they're also adjectives that I don't usually associate with the church as a whole. So as you work inside of that, the innovation space within the church, what are things that excite you? What frustrate you? What are the glimmers of hope, and are the things that we could be doing to help that?
It's a big topic. I'm glad you exist, because we'll need more than a webinar to probably unpack that. I mean, I think that there are a lot of, we can look at like maybe some historical forces for like, there was a time when that quote, where that was true, and we're living in a time when it's not true. I would argue it has not been true in a while. And so if I were to kind of maybe make a very big macro comment, it would be the separation of like the sacred and the secular divide. I think what ended up happening, we would call it an unintended consequence, is the secular got all the creativity, and the sacred became like gilded in gold. We froze in time what sacred looked like, and it moved very, very slowly, and all the creativity was just put in a different place. And it's not that good things weren't happening. And so you could even trace this to when did all of these parachurch ministries start? And when did all of these nonprofits start that before then had been not just under the umbrella of the church, understood as the mission of the church? And so that division you really see happening in the early 20th century, I think, is largely a result of 150 years of like, I'm really nerding out, but hey, this is hypothetically a group of academics who are really wanting to get into it, but also like lead well practically. Like this is a result of post-enlightenment, where we've got secular in one spot, sacred in another, and so we're categorizing things in different ways that I think then dragged in, like somehow secularization got to keep creativity, got to keep innovation. And what you end up with is a group of people who were more missiological in their thinking, looking at the church saying like, what happened? Where did we get here? And so then we start having things like Cru or Campus Crusade. We start having things like the Navigators. We start having things like all the big faith-based NGOs. They all started in roughly like the same 15-year window of time. I just don't think that's coincidental. I could be wrong. That's like a historical look at that. I do think like one of the things that I was hoping would happen, and it's happening a little bit here, at least in the United States, is that I do think in the same way that in Europe and in the UK and other places that were formerly Christian have dramatically reduced like in their what it is that's happening there in terms of Christianity. And I think for those people, Christianity is more costly. And so it should be hypothetically more rooted and more deep because of that, and more faithful. And I think I was hoping 5, 6, 7 years ago that that's what was happening a little bit. And I think what has happened is like it's gotten that idea of like the faithful remnant has gotten hijacked by this really the polarized forces at work in our macro culture that have weaponized all of that polarization. And so even the faithful seem compromised sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that sounds like good news. And Andy's going to make it all better.
I'm delegating it to Ed. That's why he's the program director. I'm just the coordinator. So this is Ed's world peace is Ed's responsibility, not mine.
Well, spinning off of that a little bit, do you see that the innovators had to go into their own spaces and create their own world? They couldn't do it in the church world, kind of like John Wesley back in the day, right? You know, he couldn't. He stayed intact with the Anglican Church, but he had to go around it and do something that was, for its day, very innovative. And would you see that as a pattern now still is those who are innovative have to kind of go around. They got to create another organization, do something different to express that, because it's been, by the church at large, it's been kind of halted? Or do you see some encouraging signs that where churches are, maybe even forced to be more innovative now and thinking through, what does the church look like in the future?
I see both things. So I mean, I see, and I don't want to say that starting stuff outside the church is good, bad, wrong, or indifferent so much as it's just a thing that's happening. But I do think there is a squeezing out of, if you're using maybe some Alan Hirsch's terminology, where he talks about apest, like releasing the apes. So like the apostles, the prophets, and the evangelists, the people who are more future oriented and definitely more drawn towards a future that is not realized yet, with people who are not Christians yet. They are the ones who usually are starting things and kind of stepping outside the normal confines of the 501c3 church. I do think one of the encouraging things, however, is I do think as we're seeing an emerging of like millennial pastors who are becoming more and more the lead pastors of some of these churches, there's a transition that they are making in leadership that is from command and control to co-creative and collaborative. And what that has allowed is, I think, a different understanding of generosity within the church like ecosystem, meaning we don't have to, like, let's say you have an idea for men's ministry. It doesn't mean it has to be a program at our church. Half the time you just need someone with authority to say, like, that's a great idea. Why don't you go start something? And I want to hear about it. I'd love to pray for you. I'd love to coach you any way that I can, and bless them, release them, let them go do the thing. They're not looking to leave and start something. They just wanted to be told it was okay. So I think sometimes it's like starting a new 501c3. Sometimes it's just fantastic. God said that to you. Let's pray about that. I'd love to bless you, coach you, help you. What can I do?
Right.
Yeah. So I teach a class at Spring Arbor University, and just this morning we were having a conversation about Larry Walkemeyer and Todd Wilson's book, The Multiplication Flywheel. And there's a quote in there that I had read the book a couple of years ago. I had forgotten about it until I was getting ready for this conversation, but that it's like denominations, organizations hold two buckets in their hands. They hold a bucket of water and a bucket of gasoline, and they have to choose which one they're going to use when they start to see creative things happen. And so often, like, we see that bucket of water being the thing. As soon as, and the example we use is like, you got a fire pit, and as soon as there's a spark outside of the fire pit, the gut instinct is stomp that sucker out.
Yeah.
But what's the Holy Spirit doing that's new, that's different? So let me ask this, and this isn't on the sheet, but it's kind of based off of that conversation. How do you identify those sparks as things to pour the gasoline on? How do you know what to pour gas on?
Let me make one big comment that I will probably keep coming back to over and over and over again. I think the vast majority of the issues that we're facing in the church as it relates to innovation and all the things attached to it are because we are facing a discipleship crisis. So I'm going to keep coming back to that idea. And also that is a great place to start. If you're thinking like, I'm leading a church, where should I start? My answer is disciple making. Just start there. It's one of the most important and most urgent issues that we have facing any local church right now. I think the way that plays out with the question that you asked, though, I think it has a lot to do with if Jesus says, I only do what I see the Father doing. And then you see all the different parables that he teaches. Half of the parables are about, like, do you have eyes to see what's going on around you?
Yeah.
And so if the answer is like, I want to improve my spiritual eyes for what it is that it's going around me, we would call that, in formal words, discernment. And then we would say, okay, what does the Bible say about discernment? Well, that it doesn't just, you don't do it alone. There are all these different passages, all these different stories of how discernment is done in community. And so like if we go to like the first like really big one of this is Acts 15, where they're trying to decide what to do with the Gentiles and what it is that like what exactly did Peter uncork at Cornelius's house? And they have that beautiful passage where it was like it seemed good to the Holy Spirit and to us.
Yeah.
And I think the question is, if we're looking at the spark that jumped out of the bonfire, and in some ways we're asking like, is that a good thing or is that a bad thing? What we're actually saying is like, is God up to something here? And if God is up to something, what would it look like for us to throw gasoline on it? How do we join in Henry Blackaby with what God is already up to?
Yeah.
And so I think everything that we're talking about here is around discernment and getting a sense of what the Holy Spirit is up to. But it points then to the main problem we're facing, which is if we are under-discipled, most people do not know how to hear God's voice. Most people do not know how to pray. They're functional agnostics. And so we're talking about a spiritual skill set that most people don't have that is necessary for this wider conversation we're having.
Yeah. And I think the other component that's at play somewhere along the way, and you feel free, Doug, or Ed, to push against me, like the sage on the stage mentality in the church, that the pastor is the one who brings the vision and sets it before the people. Like weren't taught 25 years ago in school to pursue vision in community, to pursue discernment for that. It was, you go away, you come up with a vision statement, a mission statement, values, and you come down and you like say, this is what we're doing, team. And so like from the top down, like it's a conversion that has to happen in our spirits as leaders. That seems to be like we have to be the first disciples in this, and the first that are willing to lean into allowing others to be a part of that discernment, as opposed to I just go with my gut as the leader and we're going to do the thing I say. Is that, I mean,
go ahead, Ed.
I think you're right, Andy. I think there's not only a training issue, that has happened through the years where we just have a natural default for what we as trained ministers and pastors are supposed to do. We live with a certain fear that those other things may not produce, or they may not provide the income that'll support this or support me personally.
Yeah.
And so that fear, it was very real, but that does seem to be what holds back the innovative spirit in the church. Part of it's training, part of it's this greater fear that what we might dream about or hope for or wish could happen, it's too risky.
Yeah.
And we don't see a lot of examples of people stepping out and taking that kind of risk. And you get a little glimpse every now and then, and you're like, oh, whoa, that's going on over there. That's interesting. I think that's what's helpful with a lot of our way we, convene people and tell stories, swap stories, exponentials, gatherings of multipliers. It's like that kind of environment helps, because you can learn about and hear about those kind of stories that might encourage your own faith and risk. But I think it's a combination of the two coming together. And it's just like, it's hard to truly be an innovator and a pioneer in the church world these days. What do you think, Doug?
I agree. I think if we were to probably name, and you just did that, if we could sum up like what's the dominant spirit of the church right now, I would probably say fear.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to be about like this bold, risky, kingdom-oriented adventure that Jesus talks about with this life, this kind of like John 10:10 life, if we are just completely ensconced in fear.
Yeah.
If if perfect love casts out fear, and we are to be receivers of the Father's love every day, like we seem to be doing poorly at that. Which again, like all these things to me are downstream issues from discipleship.
Mm-hmm.
Like my inability, like if I am captivated by fear, the New Testament says some stuff about that.
Yeah.
Like, and it's not, it doesn't really mince words about that. And it says like, what are the things that Christians should be most known for? How we love each other and how we are working together in unity, John 17. Like that's the starting point. And those seem to be the two worst things. But again, for me, it's all around disciple making. Like we're actually really bad at helping to like shape people to walk with Jesus, to be shaped by Jesus' spirit, to become more like him over time. And so innovation is great, but it's in service to something bigger.
Mm. So let me piggyback off of that with this question. So again, this is another quote from your book. One of the key things to understand about kingdom innovation is that it can't be done without God. Sure, you can have innovation without God, but there's no kingdom innovation without the world of the Spirit. And I was probably 2 years ago where I had this moment of conviction where I realized that if the Holy Spirit didn't show up on any given Sunday at the church that I lead, nobody would notice. Like nothing would have been different about what had happened. Everybody would have had almost the same experience, and we would have gone home and eaten lunch, and life would have gone on. And that's not the church that I see. Like you read through the book of Acts, and it's always the Spirit showing up, showing off. What does it look like to ensure that we are in step with the Spirit in our innovation and in our leadership? I think you've already alluded to some of these things, but what are your thoughts?
I don't want to create an unhelpful binary, but for the sake of answering the question, I'm going to caveat this by saying I'm going to create an unhelpful binary, because I don't actually think it's as cut and dry clear as I'm about to answer, but I'm doing it for the sake of like pushing our thinking a little bit.
Yeah.
And it's sort of like a rhetorical statement. Like if the innovation that you are working on is not pushing you or a group of people or a project initiative, whatever it is, to a place where it just won't work if God doesn't show up, then we have to ask is like, did I conjure this up because I thought it was a good idea? Or is this actually a kingdom innovation? Now, I think that the discovery of medicines, and Ed had surgery recently, like 50 years ago, that surgery would probably go really differently. And so I don't want to like so bifurcate those two things that like they're not somehow actually connected, that it's either kingdom innovation or nothing. Yeah. But I think for the sake of our conversation, what we are normally doing is systematizing something around innovation. And if it works, we say, well, see, God was in it, rather than asking, if God didn't exist, could this work?
Yeah.
And I think that's coming at it completely differently.
Yeah.
And it's trying to infuse from the beginning the spirit and the power of God and the belief that it's necessary for this, whatever this thing is, to work. And I would put that like, and I'm just going to keep going back to it. And we can localize that in the life of one person with disciple making, in the sense that the only way a person genuinely transforms and changes and becomes more and more like Jesus is through the Spirit of God. Yeah. Like Paul talks about, like the same Spirit that raised Christ Jesus from the dead is now alive in you today. It is in you. So we should see evidence of that if that's true. That's not just Paul waxing poetic.
Absolutely.
And so if we actually believe that that's our theology, it would shape the way that I practice things all the way down to like innovative things we're trying to launch.
Yeah.
I love how you draw it back to disciple making every time. And, you know, you think about it, all of the great ideas and things that have been helpful for the church through the years, right? It has come out of like just this genuine leaders responding to the Spirit's promptings and just doing discipleship with people, and stuff starts happening. I mean, that's the way the early church was formed. There was no formula when the church was started. They're figuring it out as they go, and they end up, doing all sorts of different things, whatever works, kind of attitude, willing to try new things and reach new people groups. And, it's that innovation that came out of disciple making. And I can think about that with people that I've discipled who've gone on to do things, or, they have this crazy idea. It's like, I remember I was discipling one fella, and then he had this crazy idea of like, hey, what if we had like 4 prisons around our church? And he's like, what if we could actually start churches in those prisons? Like, whoa, could that actually happen? And went on to go do it,
It's amazing.
And so it's like but it came out of that disciple making relationship, which is our greatest weakness right now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even just jumping off of, this is I'm not trying to just hopelessly flog my book here. But there is a story there's a story that like, it sews together these 3 things we were just talking about. This very random guy who happens to be the prison warden of Angola prison, which was the most dangerous prison in the 1970s in the West. And it was located in Louisiana. He became a Christian. He somehow gets into one of these Henry Blackaby Experiencing God studies, and it completely changes his life and his family's life. And then he brings the Experiencing God experience into Angola prison, and there is revival that completely transformed the prison, because this dude who was not being paid to do this, he was just like, it feels like I have this window of opportunity here, and I have this authority where I could do this and try something. And we've got it's so bad here, and the violence is so bad that people are willing to try anything. And so they do this thing, and it completely explodes in a good way, and then starts spreading to other prisons. And so I think it's part of the, like, the more we get close to Jesus and the more we have his heart and are responding to his Spirit and community, I think we're going to see more and more things like that happen, but we're not going to need it to be a 501c3. We just want the people of God to be faithful, us included.
Yeah, that's good. And sometimes we think like that might be our solution, is like, oh, we gotta, and it's not that it can't help too, but like, we got to start this organization, or we got to do this thing. Just helping people realize they've got opportunity, and the church already has, like, you already have authority. And the you really don't have to go pursue these other kind of monstrous organizational routes. It's just go do the simple thing that God's calling you to do, and the church can help. And we can inspire that. We can move it forward, coach people through it, help them see, like what you do with organizations, help them see their blind spots. But it really, it's if you could just get with people that are in disciple making relationships and let them, and just ask the question, what's God calling you to do? What people group could you reach? What are your unique assets and skills, and ways that God uses you? And then just ask, what if? And could you imagine what could happen in the church? What kind of innovation would happen if that was the Spirit that we just led with all the time?
I mean, it always goes back to, there's this Dallas Willard quote where he says, every church needs to be able to answer 2 questions. What's our plan for making disciples, and does our plan work? And if the answer is our plan's not working, that's saying, like, okay, we should start experimenting. It's not, we should give up. It's, Like, this is the Great Commission. Go make disciples. So if you suck at it, it's okay. Like, Jesus doesn't actually need you to be great at it for his will to be accomplished, but he also would like you to be good at it. And so for me, it's an opportunity to go learn, experiment, trial, and lots of error and figure it out. Not, well, I guess we're just going to bury our heads in the sand and do the same programming we've been doing since 1983.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'll just give you an example from our church that was actually sparked, Doug, by your book in this area of discipleship. So probably 7 or 8 years ago, we had set off down the path of trying to focus on the area of discipleship. And we set off, and our first 2 iterations, they were junk. Like, they were okay, but it was, and I've got a sticky note on my monitor that says step 1 is better than step none. Like, all right, we're going to start the thing. And I was at a place where I was frustrated with it. And I was right around the season where I read your book, and I was like, okay, like, I don't need to feel bad about this. Like, hey, we've started the thing. Let's try the next iteration of this thing. And now this is probably I would say version 3.5. And it's really right. We're starting to see the fruit. We're starting to see disciples that are making disciples and people that are owning it. But it took wading through the mess and trying some things that didn't work. And then, like you said, asking the question, how do we make disciples? And then the second one, is it actually working? And we had to be honest. We'd put a lot of effort into it the first round, but it wasn't. Like, it just didn't work. And being willing to shift, pivot, and try a second thing.
And it begs a really interesting question. I don't have a clean answer for it, because I think there are probably multiple ones, which is, why do we think we're going to get it right the first time every time?
Yeah.
Like, that reveals something. I mean, it's true of me. I genuinely believe the first time I try something, it's going to work every time.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've done more thinking, writing, and working on this than most people that I know. And I still am rooting out that pride that says, nah, I'm the exception. I'm going to get it right this time.
Yeah.
The first time. Because if it was a good idea in my head, of course it's going to work in real life.
Yeah.
So years ago, when we were moving from 1 service to 2 services at our church, I was meeting with a mentor of mine, just talking through, okay, what is that? What are some suggestions you would have? And one of his suggestions was, approach it like an experiment. Like, rather than coming to everybody and saying, thus saith the Lord, he's like, hey, we're going to give this a shot for the next 6 months. And these are some of the benchmarks we're going to be looking for. But sometimes we present things with such surety that then if it doesn't work, it feels like a failure, whereas we can bring everybody into it being an experiment. Hey, we're pretty sure this is the right next step. We're going to give it a shot. But again, it kind of goes back to if I feel like it all falls on my shoulders as the leader, then I have personal investment in it working, because otherwise I feel like I've succeeded or I failed, not I tried and I need to try again.
That makes a lot of sense to me.
Okay. So here's my next question, that is a very deep spiritual question that I have started asking our guests on here, because I'm a Stephen Colbert fan, and a question he will ask, and this is totally off topic: what's the best sandwich? And I'm interested in knowing both of your answers to this, because I think this is important. If you could make any sandwich, what you making?
Do you want to go first, Ed? What are you picking, Ed?
Oh, you're picking me? Best sandwich?
Best sandwich.
And we're going Goober, P, B, and J.
So what is Goober? Is that the stuff that's already together?
Yeah, it's the brand.
Okay.
Goober. Peanut butter and jelly, man.
All right. Any specific kind of bread? Will any bread do?
That does matter. I like a good sourdough.
Okay.
I thought you were going to say like Wonder Bread. Only a good Wonder Bread will do for your sandwich.
That's a little too soft. I like the little bit of crunch to it.
I can get on board with that.
A little toasted too. A little toasted option.
Nice. All right.
Yeah, Doug, I'm definitely, I'm hot sandwich. Like, I need it to be toasted and warm for me to really enjoy it.
Yeah.
So this is a little bit of like our family lore, actually. My wife and I had been dating not long. I mean, like a month, maybe month and a half. And near to her apartment where she lived was the sandwich shop called Superstars. And we would go there, and I mean, we were just as poor as you can possibly be. I mean, I would be paying for dates with change. I'm not even joking. That also dates me a little because you could not pay for date with collected change for 50 years at this point. And so they had a sandwich there called the Jerry. And I mean, it's like a really, so the sandwich is, I can't remember what the bread is, but it's got turkey, bacon, honey mustard, and pesto. And then a Monterey Jack cheese, like this very,
What?
and then crunchy shredded lettuce. It's the weirdest combination of flavors, but it's called the Jerry. And it was so good. And then I loved it. And so maybe 4 or 5 months later, my wife made it for me, like the homemade version of it, which tricked me into thinking that she actually could make things in the kitchen. And that was, in fact, not true. That was going to be my job for the rest of our time together. But it became known to our kids as Marry Me Sandwich. And so about once a year, we will still make the Jerry at home.
That's amazing.
It's a popular pick.
That is absolutely amazing. All right.
That's innovative.
That is. That is. So I've got to toss mine into the ring. So we, our church for about 4.5 years, we met at a YMCA. And our Y here in Jackson used to have a cafe that was there that I always thought was, it was kind of a little bit of entrapment because there was this guy who made bacon all day long. And it was literally just outside the door of the men's locker room. Like you left the locker room, you entered like the main Y space to leave, and you had to walk past a guy making bacon. And I thought it was like them just trying to keep you fat so that you had to keep coming back to the Y. But he would make this time of year, he would make a Reuben for St. Patrick's Day that was so good. And it was just, it was like 20 steps from my office door when we met there at the Y. And the Chips Place Reuben was probably one of my favorites. He passed away, and they renovated the Y and got rid of the cafe. But yeah, that was a good one. Hey, I do want to take just a second, and I'm not a big fan of commercial breaks, but I do want to plug something that Ed and I have been working on. For those of you that are joining in, whether you're with us for the recording or you're watching this later. So a part of the Church Multiplication Institute is a certificate in church multiplication. And this is going to be a 4-class certificate where you're going to meet at 4 different places around the United States with Ed and I, and 3 of them are in conjunction with Exponential with their learning communities. And so it's a great way to be able to get together to learn, to toss ideas around. Ed, and I put you on the spot here, but could you take just a minute and share just a little bit more about the certificate and the idea behind it?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's I guess we would say it's in the academic space, it's pretty innovative. Formed that partnership with Exponential and the learning communities. And so you get this real immersive, experiential, participatory learning journey, doing it with others. And it's all based around disciple making and then multiplication. So it's helping your church first get the disciple making right, and then move into what church multiplication looks like for your church. And that will include innovation, the topic that we're talking about today, all kinds of new efforts and new expressions, whatever God may unleash in your leadership atmosphere. But I'm really excited about it. I think, the way the courses are designed, they kind of build off of each other and flow together. You also have a little bit more rigorous research and study component that will just be a value add to your life and your ministry. And it'll get you exposed to all kinds of people, including people like Doug, that, there's, all kinds of resources in the church that, you'll get connected to, and you even get to become friends with. It's kind of the way that we, create the courses to build friendships and partnerships. And so it's much more than just an academic exercise, although that's there. There's a relational component that I think any learner, student is going to love. And it could apply to its master's level material, but it could apply if you want to go on to do a master's of divinity one day or a doctorate. It's course credit. You can get it done in a year, under a year actually, and so that's 12 courses in a year, and be a blessing to your life. So encourage you to check it out. We'll probably put the link up.
So the link is in the chat for those of you that are with us live. If you click in there, I've dropped it in there. And if you're watching the recording, we'll have the link in the video description. The first class is July 27th to the 31st down in Indianapolis. And again, it'll be a very experiential time. So we're going to be visiting with a lot of different multipliers, learning from people. It's not going to be you sit in a class and get, talked to for 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. So anyway, we're excited to get that rolling. So I want to get back to asking some questions here. So Doug, one of the things, here's another quote: ideation is about moving from a place of scarcity, that there aren't enough good ideas, to abundance. There will always be more ideas. I just finished reading the book Banana Ball by Jesse Cole, the Savannah Bananas guy. And one of the practices that he talks about is that he has a notebook by his bed, and I forget I think it's 3. He won't get out of bed until he has come up with 3 new ideas. It's just he's realized that is some of his most creative time, and he's going to sit there and he's going to get ideas, write them in his notebook. And one of their principles is there will always be another idea. And I resonated with what you said, but I also felt this thing inside of me that, no, I've had one idea. That's my idea. I've got to run with it. We're worried about there not being another one. So as we look at encouraging people who are multiplying, like, how do you build this abundance philosophy into your ministry as opposed to a scarcity philosophy?
I mean, I think part of it you actually already hit with your sticky note. What does the exact note say on your
Step
computer?
1 is better than step none.
Step 1 is better than step none. So I think this goes a little bit to what do we think is going to happen when we try something? Usually we think, if I try it, it will be successful, or I wouldn't be trying it. And so, like, we talk a lot about, and like, this is not my quote at all, but the idea that that perfection is the enemy of progress. And the most important thing to do is to get it into the water. You can always sideline it, kill it, stop giving energy to it, stop funding it, tell people like it was an experiment that didn't work. But part of it is just get it into the water. And the more you establish the practice of trying things, the more you will find that new ideas will come.
Yeah.
There's actually a flywheel for ideation because when you try something, you start learning more. And as you learn more, new possibilities spark into your mind, which makes you want to try new things. So you get this flywheel of abundance that starts happening when it comes to just creating and generating ideas. So I think that is a piece of what that is. I think some of it goes a little bit as well. We have a reward system in church life.
Yeah.
That does not reward. Everyone is clear what the reward system is. And it always goes to bigger is better.
Yeah.
And so if you have the bigger church, you're going to be more known. You're going to have more people looking at your YouTube or downloading your podcasts. If you're big enough, you're definitely going to get eventually asked onto the conference circuit. Once you make it to the conference circuit, then it's like, are you in the workshop space or are you in the top table space? Did you make main stage? You get more money the bigger that your church is. And everything is very locked into what the reward system is. And you're almost spit out if you buck up against that a little bit.
Yeah.
And so I do think whenever we talk about the scarcity piece of it, we also have to name that the system itself is designed to kill those ideas because the reward system is not built for them.
Yeah.
It is built for what worked yesterday, and bigger is better. We are America. I mean, like that's the kind of spirit that goes with the reward system. And it's subtle and it's unwritten, but it is very real. And we all know it's real.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's so true on a macro level, but also like, I think like a local church level, like I think anybody who's been in ministry for more than 2 years has tried something new, had it fail, and been burned by the people that are now mad about it, frustrated about it. The infamous like pastor that tried to move the organ or the flag off the stage, and is out on his keister. That in the local church, you are rewarded for the things that that keep status quo.
Correct.
And we find that I help out with our denominational church planner assessment processes, and one of the things that we talk about on the back end is the things that make for a good multiplier often aren't rewarded at the local church level, because you can invest your time, your energy all inside of that building and keep the wheels running and the programs going and everybody's happy, and you're getting raises and there's more people showing up, but you may or may not be reaching people for Jesus. You may or may not be making disciples. And we have people that'll come into those assessment processes, and we have something we'll have to do is start to point out, okay, like this is the reality of where you've been and where you are, and these would be some things to work on moving forward. Ed, did you have anything you wanted to add to that?
No. No, I'm good. You can go ahead.
But I think the point that you're making, like if you are a new planter, it's really, really important for you to have clarity, or you're fresh in, like you're in the first 5 to 10 years of ministry life. It's really important for you to know why you're doing what you're doing.
Mm.
So if at the end of the day, it's like, I have a calling on my life, I want to be faithful.
Yeah.
And Ephesians 2:10 tells me that there are things that have been set aside for me that only I can do. No one before me could do it. No one after me could do it. Just me. And I think I have a discernment process that is conferred by other people about what I should do. And here I stand, I can do no other kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's really easy for that to get like taken back in to the old system, because that thing that you're doing isn't rewarded, which is a different way of saying the people that you want to give you a pat on the back, to give you the thumbs up and say you're successful, will oftentimes not do that.
Yeah.
And so that's why it's really important you know why you're doing what you're doing, because it's so easy for that motivation to be co-opted.
Yeah.
Like, because we all have, like, I want to be told I matter. I want to be told that I'm successful. I want to be told that I'm a contributor. Like, I want to hear those things. But if I'm off in what feels like the never land of innovation and trying new things that may not even fully work till the next generation of people, that's a really lonely place to be.
Yeah.
And so I do not want to be like, innovation is just like the most amazing pie in the sky journey you're ever going to go on. It can be lonely, because the people you want to say that you're okay will oftentimes not say that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And let me ask this, because the other problem that I have is, and I'm a perfectionist, right? I want to get it right the first time. And so there's the external forces that are, may or may not say, attaboy, but there's also an internal critic that for me is really hard to shake. And so I will be that person that, again, will refine and not be willing to try because of a fear of failure. Talk to me about that. Like, how do you shake that and reshape that so that it's not even just not even the outside forces, but the inside forces don't keep you from doing this?
So I'll give 3 practical things that I've found to be really helpful at the local church level. So the first thing is both for you and for your team and for like that next big set of lay leaders. So that can be elders, deacons, board, whatever your structure.
Yeah.
Your reward system should be built on what are called lead measures, not lag measures. So lead measures are the things that you can control. Like I can control what time I get up in the morning. What I cannot control is what time I go to sleep at night. Like I can hopefully, like if I get in the right circadian rhythm, I'll start falling asleep at the same time. But at the end of the day, I can't control that. I actually can't control how many people are going to show up on a Sunday morning. But what I can do is I can control how many doors I knock on.
Yeah.
Asking people to come to a Sunday morning. So one thing is like I have control over my actions. Those are inputs. And I'm not responsible for outputs. I don't know what to, all I can control is what I can actually control. And what we should be rewarding are the inputs and not the outputs. Because when we reward inputs, what we're actually rewarding is obedience. And in the kingdom, success is obedience. And so that's the first one. It doesn't matter if it's success, if that experiment succeeds or fails, if you're right or wrong. I mean, it matters, but it's like, first and foremost, we need a culture that says we reward faithfulness.
Yeah.
Period. Underline, star, highlight. If you don't have that, doesn't matter anything else I'm going to say. I think that's the starting point, is that faithfulness and defining success. But so that's the first practical one. Second one would be like having something like almost, again, with not the entire church, but like some of your key leaders. So staff, next rung out, having a quarterly idea Shark Tank where everyone is required to bring one idea. And it could be something that's already happening in the church setting. Malcolm Gladwell talks about how like the greatest innovations are usually tweaks. They're not inventions. Yeah. So it was like Steve Jobs didn't invent the personal computer. He tweaked something and made the user experience 1,000 times better.
Yeah.
He didn't come up with a smartphone. That was not an Apple invention. He tweaked it so that it became this like wildly innovative thing that we now know as the iPhone. And so I think part of it is like everyone's going to bring an idea and we're all going to vote on the best idea. And we're going to spend 45 minutes gaming out what would we do if we took that idea seriously? Not because we even have to try it, but because we want to stretch our mental muscles around innovation. And it's just fun. Like genuinely, it's just fun to do that. But everyone who's at that meeting must share. Because the balloon we're trying to pop is that only certain people can be innovative. Everyone can be innovative. You all have the imago Dei, the spark of God in you. The last thing that I would say is in front of the church every single year, I would get into a rhythm where you're saying like, all right, for this year, this is our church experiment. Here's the thing we don't know the answer to. We're trying to figure it out. Here's the experiment we're doing. Here are the people who are involved with it. Don't worry. We're not scaling it to everyone yet because we don't know if it works.
Yeah.
And it's not going to change anything other than we're doing this like on the fringes and we want you to know about it. We want you to pray about it. And we're going to give you an update every 12 weeks. If you do that, like I think part of the problem is that number one, when we're used to importing other people's new solutions to our churches. So everyone did 40 days of purpose in like the mid-aughts, right? Like we all imported this thing from Southern California, like the home of affluent white California. And we imported it all over the United States. And we're like, this is going to reinvent our church in 40 days. And so we don't know that it was going to work. We didn't know that if it was going to be a good idea or not, but we said yes. And within 10 days, you can start scaling that. And so a part of it is we think that when we experiment with something, it should immediately change everything. We don't even know if it works. Let's pump the brakes for a second. I think that's a piece of it. And I think the other thing is we are looking for things to solve all of our problems almost immediately. So we call those microwave solutions. Yeah. It's like some of these things are going to, like, it took a while to get into this mess. It's going to take a while to get out of it. And that's okay. Like read the Bible, lots of messes in there. And some of them took a little bit of time to unwind. Like my son is reading Exodus right now, and last night he realized for the first time that he's heard the story, but he was like reading it for himself, and he's like, "Oh, they wandered for 40 years." He's like, 40 years is a long time. And I'm like, you were correct. It did not take them long to get to that problem, but it took them a long time to unwind it. And so I think that's a piece of it as well. We can't just expect changing the way that our culture is functioning within our local church is not a light switch that you can turn on or off.
Ed, I just wanted to turn that question to you. Is there anything else that you would want to add or to process?
Oh man, that's so good. Those are some great practical examples for what churches can do and help to fuel innovation. So thanks for that, Doug. It's really helpful. I think a lot of it just helping people find their identity in Christ alone solves so many problems for people who are willing to take new risks, take faith steps themselves, not worry about the success meter and the accolades that could come from predictable formulas. And it just seems to me that rootedness, which is a disciple-making conversation, that's almost day one. Like, we got to talk about your identity here. It really does fuel innovation in some really incredible ways, I think, and roots people in Christ and not in their success or failure. Like, it's not that dichotomy. And if you can get people there, I feel like innovation can just flow out of that space, and new things can happen, and God could use, a lot of ordinary people to do extraordinary things. Really believe it.
Yeah.
And he wants to do that right now in the church. And I'm seeing signs of, forward progress. And a lot of people, willing to have this conversation in their local church. And that's exciting. So, ready or not, here we come, right?
And that is a great segue, because I want to shill for your book for a second, Doug, before we get out of here, because I've had a lot of books assigned to me. I think I was trying to remember, Ed, I think you're the one that assigned Ready or Not to me when I was in the D-Min program.
Well, God bless you too. You're 50% of my sales.
When I got done with the program, I went through my stack of books and I was like, what one of these am I never going to look at again? And I got rid of probably 2/3 of my books. But Ready or Not was one of those that I held. I was like, no, this is one of those gems that really spoke to me, that actually impacted how I have ministered. And so for those of you that are watching this, if you haven't picked up Doug Paul's book, Ready or Not, it is worth it. It's valuable. I just had my class go through it at Spring Arbor, and they, their take homes, I just read through their papers the other day, and it really impacted them as well. So I want to encourage you, go grab it if you haven't grabbed it. Doug, I want to thank you so much. Like, I cold called you guys. I was like, hey, you were on my wish list of people to join us for this, because that book had been influential. And so I just got a hold of Catapult. I'm like, hey, you don't know me, but is there any chance that Doug would be willing to join us? And you were very gracious. And so thank you. Thank you for being on here.
I appreciate, love what you all are doing and trying to actually bring this into a more disciplined fashion into both the spaces that you're in academically and the training environments, as well as like the wider church. I never get tired of talking about this stuff, so you can call me again. It's fine.
All right.
I love it.
Will do. Well, thank you so much. I want to thank everybody that joined us in person. Ed, I think I just cut you off. Did you want to say something?
No, I'm all good.
All right. So thank you, everybody who joined us in person. Thanks for taking the time. Just real quick at the end, we'll have a few more of these that are coming in the next couple of months, but there's one that's coming June 3rd at 11 a.m. Eastern. You're going to want to put on your calendar. That's a conversation with Dave Ferguson of Exponential. So he's going to be joining us. That's going to be a highlight. So if you want to put that on your calendar right now, June 3rd, 11 a.m., conversation with Dave. And I'm just super, super excited about the people who are willing to invest in this space and thankful for them. So there it is.
Dave's new book.
Oh,
You tell Dave that I was promoting his book. June 3rd, people. It's going to be a great conversation.
All right. Doug and Ed, thank you guys. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Andy. See y'all.
Yeah.